Today, I will introduce to you a dish that is both delicious and nutritious. Bitter melon stir-fried with chicken, mushrooms, garlic, and chili. It sounds simple, but when combined properly, this dish will bring a very special balance of flavors. The slight bitterness of the melon, the sweet and fatty taste of the chicken, a little spicy chili, and the aroma of mushrooms. First, I prepared a plate of ingredients including fresh bitter melon, chicken thighs, shiitake mushrooms, garlic, and chili. After preparing the ingredients, I started to prepare the chicken first. I chose the chicken thighs because this is the soft, sweet part of the meat and has a little fat and skin to help the dish not dry out when stir-fried. First, I put the chicken thighs in a large bowl. Sprinkle about a teaspoon of salt on the surface. Then, I used my hands to rub both sides of the chicken, both to let the salt soak in and to help remove the characteristic odor. This step is very important because it helps the chicken to have a more natural aroma when cooked. Next, I poured clean water into the bowl, gently rinsed it once to remove the remaining salt and dirt. Then, I changed the water and rinsed it one more time to make it really clean. When I saw that the chicken was white and no longer had a pungent smell, I took it out and put it in a basket to drain. Once the chicken is dry, I start chopping it into bite-sized pieces, about 3 to 4 centimeters in size. The chicken pieces should not be too big to cook easily, but not too small to avoid breaking when stir-frying. A little tip is to marinate the chicken with half a teaspoon of pepper and half a teaspoon of seasoning powder for about 10 minutes before stir-frying. Next, I will move on to preparing bitter melon, an important ingredient that creates the characteristic flavor of the dish. First, I choose fresh bitter melons with dark green skin and firm to the touch. When preparing, I cut off the top and bottom of the fruit, then cut it in half lengthwise. Inside the melon, there is white pulp and seeds. This is where the most bitterness is, so I will remove all the pulp and seeds. After removing all the pulp, I place half of the melon on a cutting board and cut each half in half and then cut it lengthwise into thin slices, about 0.5 to 0.7 centimeters. You can cut it diagonally or horizontally, depending on your preference, but cutting it diagonally will make the melon look more beautiful when stir-fried. I put all the sliced melons in a large bowl. To reduce the bitter taste, I sprinkled a small spoon of salt, then gently squeezed and mixed with my hands to let the salt soak into each piece of squash. Squeezing the salt will help the bitter juice to come out, making the squash taste fresher when cooked. Then, I let it soak for about 15 to 20 minutes. During this time, you can take advantage of the time to prepare the other ingredients. After preparing the bitter melon, I continued to prepare the accompanying ingredients, including shiitake mushrooms, garlic, and chili. First is the shiitake mushrooms. I have cleaned the shiitake mushrooms. Now I will slice them directly. With large mushrooms, I can split them in half to make them easier to cook when stir-frying. If using dried shiitake mushrooms, soak them in warm water for about 15 to 20 minutes until the mushrooms expand and soften. Then squeeze out the water and cut off the hard stem in the middle. After preparing, I put the mushrooms in a separate bowl to prepare for later use in the pan. Next is the chili. I choose fresh, beautiful red chili peppers to make the dish look more appealing. I wash the chili peppers, remove the stems, and then cut them into thin diagonal slices. Depending on your taste, you can add more or less. If you don't like spicy food, just a few slices to create aroma is enough. Finally, the garlic. I peeled it, crushed it with a knife and chopped it. Garlic is an ingredient that helps to add flavor to the dish. When fried, it will give off a characteristic aroma. Combined with bitter melon and chicken, it is very delicious. When I finished preparing everything, I put the minced garlic and sliced chili in the same bowl for easy operation. When stir-frying, just pour the whole bowl into the pan, and you will have a fragrant spice mixture, making the dish more attractive. Back to the bitter melon. When the time is up, I gently squeeze a piece with my hand. See the bitter juice coming out, then wash the melon with clean water. Wash 2 to 3 times to remove all the saltiness and remaining bitterness. Finally, take it out and drain. At this point, the bitter melon is ready to be processed, keeping its beautiful green color and a slight crunch. When combined with chicken and mushrooms, it will be very attractive. After preparing all the ingredients, I started the cooking process. First, I put the pan on the stove, turned on medium heat, and heated the pan for about 1 minute. When the pan was hot, I added cooking oil to the pan. Then, I poured in the chopped chicken. At first, I stirred the chicken evenly to make it firm, then lowered the heat to medium and continued to stir until the chicken started to turn light yellow and give off a fragrant aroma. At this point, I added 1 tablespoon of fish sauce, stirred quickly for about 30 seconds to give the chicken its characteristic aroma, then poured it onto a separate plate, keeping the aromatic oil in the pan. Next, I added the prepared bitter melon to the pan. Still keeping the heat at medium, stirring quickly for about 1 to 2 minutes so that the bitter melon was cooked through, keeping its beautiful green color without becoming mushy. Then, I put the stir-fried chicken back in and added the shiitake mushrooms, minced garlic, and sliced chili. At this point, the aroma of fried garlic mixed with the spicy taste of chili and the aroma of mushrooms is extremely attractive. When the ingredients are mixed, I start to season. Add 1 teaspoon of pepper and 1 teaspoon of seasoning powder to the pan. Stir well to let the spices soak into each piece of chicken and bitter melon. Then, I add about half a cup of filtered water, 80 to 100 milliliters. During this process, the water will boil, gradually thicken, lightly cling to the chicken and bitter melon slices, creating a layer of sauce that is both fragrant and rich. When I see that the bitter melon is cooked, still crispy, the chicken is soft and sweet, and the mushrooms give off a distinct aroma, I turn off the stove. Finally, I pour everything onto a plate and arrange it neatly. The golden yellow chicken pieces, mixed with the green bitter melon, the red color of chili, and the dark brown color of shiitake mushrooms, create a dish that is both delicious and beautiful. This will definitely be a delicious dish, both nutritious and making the meal more appealing. So with just familiar ingredients such as bitter melon, chicken, mushrooms, garlic and chili, we have a delicious and nutritious dish. The slightly bitter taste of bitter melon, combined with the sweet and fatty taste of chicken, and the characteristic aroma of mushrooms will definitely make family meals more attractive.